Remember when action movies just dropped a group of muscle-bound commandos into a jungle and dared something worse to come after them? Directed by John McTiernan and released by 20th Century Fox, Predator follows Dutch, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, leading an elite military rescue team into the jungles of Central America. Alongside him, Dylan, played by Carl Weathers, Blaine, played by Jesse the Body Ventura, Mac, played by Bill Duke, and Billy, played by Sonny Landham. What starts as a straightforward commando mission goes sideways fast when the team realizes something invisible, intelligent, and very much not human is picking them off one by one. Today, we're counting down 15 weird facts about Predator. Stick around for number 1 because Arnold Schwarzenegger actually left the jungle mid-shoot to say "I do," and his honeymoon destination was somehow even more ridiculous than the wedding itself. Now, before we jump in, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hype this video. It helps YouTube show this to more retro movie fans just like you. Alright, lock and load everybody, and let's get into it with number 15. The Predator suit weighed over 100 pounds. The Predator doesn't move fast. It stalks, and that terrifying patience wasn't a creative choice at first, it was gravity. The final Predator suit weighed over 100 pounds, just the costume itself before factoring in jungle heat or exhaustion. Even a 7'2" walking skyscraper like Kevin Peter Hall needed bungee cables rigged to his frame just to move properly. Without them, walking was barely manageable, and running was completely off the table. That limitation, though, accidentally solved the movie's biggest problem. The slower Hall moved, the scarier the Predator became. Inside the mask, visibility was almost non-existent. Hall memorized his paths before each take and trusted everyone else to stay out of the way. Breathing wasn't much better. The Predator head trapped heat like an oven, and the Mexican jungle gleefully handled the rest. The team installed a custom cooling suit underneath that circulated cold water, but even then, Hall could only stay in the costume for about 2 hours before it became genuinely dangerous. Between takes, crew members would rush in, pop the head off, and let him breathe. The most intimidating creature in the movie spent half its time on set looking like a sweaty guy gasping for air next to a craft services table. And yet, all of that misery paid off beautifully. Turns out the scariest monsters aren't fast, they're inevitable. Number 14, the Predator was so bad it shut down the entire movie. Before Predator became one of the most terrifying movie monsters ever put on screen, it almost killed the movie stone dead. The first version of the alien was so bad that when test footage came back, the studio panicked. According to Arnold Schwarzenegger, it looked like a guy in a lizard suit with the head of a duck, which is not what you want stalking elite commandos through the jungle. That's what you want chasing tourists at a low-budget theme park. The original creature was designed by Boss Film Studios and made to be agile and insect-like. But when the dailies reached Fox executives, the reaction was immediate. The monster wasn't scary. It was unintentionally funny. So the unthinkable happened. Production stopped. Filming was halted for weeks while the entire creature was scrapped and redesigned from the ground up. The production was suddenly burning money with nothing to show for it except a very expensive rubber disaster. That's when Stan Winston came aboard and rebuilt the Predator from scratch, casting the 7'2" Kevin Peter Hall to give it real physical dominance. The redesign cost roughly $1.5 million, twice what the failed suit cost, but it saved the film. The Predator finally looked alien, powerful, and intelligent, like something that could dismantle a squad of commandos without breaking a sweat. Number 13, Jean-Claude Van Damme was the original Predator. Long before he became the muscles from Brussels, Jean-Claude Van Damme almost became one of the most famous movie monsters of all time. The key word there is almost. In 1986, Van Damme was hungry and still looking for his big break. So when he was offered a role in Predator, he thought he'd finally made it. There was just one small misunderstanding. He thought he was playing a martial arts alien who would fight Schwarzenegger. What he actually signed up for was sweating inside a rubber nightmare, while being invisible. Van Damme couldn't fight the way he wanted, couldn't see through the mask, and spent most of his time trying not to fall over. He wanted spin kicks. The filmmakers wanted silent stalking. It was a mismatch from the start. What happened next depends on which version of the story you believe. Van Damme has said he grew frustrated and left on his own terms. Some production sources say he was let go after tensions boiled over. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle of a Mexican jungle covered in sweat and regret, but either way, the role needed a new body, and fast. Enter Kevin Peter Hall. Hall's sheer size and graceful movement gave the creature an otherworldly presence that finally made it believable as a superior hunter. He even doubled as the helicopter pilot in the final rescue scene, hiding in plain sight the whole time. Van Damme went on to superstardom with Bloodsport and Kickboxer. The Predator went on to become a legend, and somewhere in the middle, there's a rubber suit full of bad decisions connecting them both. Number 12, James Cameron accidentally gave the Predator its face. One of the most recognizable monster faces in movie history wasn't born in a boardroom or a months-long design meeting, it was born on an airplane. Winston had just come off another little sci-fi project called Aliens. He and its director James Cameron were flying to Japan together for a press tour when Winston started sketching ideas for the new Predator design mid-flight. Cameron leaned over, flipped through the drawings, and casually dropped what would become one of the most consequential sentences in creature design history. "You know, I've always wanted to see something with mandibles." An offhand comment at 30,000 feet that rewired an entire franchise. Winston grabbed the idea and started sketching insect-like mouth parts folding out from the creature's face. The Predator could still be humanoid while hiding something deeply not human underneath. A face that looked normal enough until it opened. That single design choice became the Predator's defining feature. The mandibles allowed it to hiss, click, flare in rage, and communicate without ever speaking a word, turning an instantly recognizable mouth into the thing that separated this creature from every other movie monster on the shelf. Number 11, The Jungle Shoot was absolute misery. Predator looks like a movie where a bunch of guys get hunted in the jungle. What it actually was a movie where the jungle hunted the entire production crew. Filming took place in the Mexican jungle, and from almost day one, everything went horribly wrong. The heat was relentless, the terrain was brutal, and then the real killer showed up, the water. A faulty purification system at the crew's hotel triggered a massive outbreak of travelers' diarrhea that ripped through the production like an invisible enemy, fitting considering the movie they were making. Cast and crew dropped one by one. Not "I don't feel great" sick, full-on production-stopping, dignity-destroying sick. Director John McTiernan responded by cutting out local food entirely. He imported crackers and bottled drinks that became his old diet, and it worked. He avoided the illness. He also dropped about 25 pounds and looked like a man slowly evaporating under studio pressure, but he avoided the illness. Even Arnold Schwarzenegger, who seemed genetically engineered to survive anything, wasn't immune. Between the non-stop physical demands, night shoots in freezing water, and day shoots in triple-digit heat, Arnold also lost around 25 pounds. The Predator wasn't the only thing hunting people in that jungle. Number 10, one actor needed a bodyguard from the cast. Predator already had one unstoppable hunter on screen. Behind the scenes, it had another one everyone was quietly keeping an eye on. Sonny Landham, who played the stone-cold tracker Billy, brought a level of intensity to the set that made people nervous. So the studio did something almost unheard of. They hired a full-time bodyguard for Landham, not to protect him, but to protect everyone else. This wasn't a creative decision, it came straight from the insurance company. Landham had a reputation for being volatile, unpredictable, and occasionally violent. So for the entire shoot, a massive 6'8" bodyguard shadowed Landham around the clock. His sole job was to make sure Landham didn't explode and take someone with him. And here's the strange twist. On Predator, Landham was reportedly completely professional. The bodyguard never actually had to step in, but the aura was real. Crew members described him as intimidating even when he wasn't doing anything. He allegedly refused protective padding during fight scenes, insisting that real men don't need fake armor. At one point, he reportedly threw a machete into a tree hard enough to make people rethink standing nearby. So yeah, the bodyguard stayed. Number 9, the minigun was too powerful for the camera. Jesse Ventura's minigun didn't just dominate the jungle, it broke the laws of filmmaking. When Ventura showed up as Blaine with his lovingly named M134 minigun Ol Painless, The weapon did exactly what it was designed to do: fire at a completely insane rate. In real military configuration, that gun spits out roughly 6,000 rounds per minute, which sounds impressive until you try to film it. Because on camera, the barrels didn't spin. They looked frozen, sometimes even spinning backward. Classic stroboscopic effect. The same reason wagon wheels in old westerns do weird things. The gun was literally too fast for 24 frames per second. So the production had to make the gun weaker so it would look stronger. The firing rate was reduced to about 1/3 of its speed using a special motor. Still absurdly fast, but slow enough that the camera could actually see the barrels rotate, creating that hypnotic blur audiences expected from the biggest gun in cinema history. Number 8. Predator blood was basically glow sticks and KY jelly. The Predator's glowing green blood looks like some cutting-edge alien science, but in reality, it was closer to a late-night science fair with worse hygiene. There was nothing high-tech about it. The effects team cracked open glow sticks, dumped the glowing liquid into a bucket, and mixed it with KY jelly. The glow stick fluid gave the blood its eerie neon shine. The KY jelly gave it thickness, so it clung, stretched, and oozed instead of running like water. Together, they created something that looked genuinely alien, especially against the dark jungle floor. Of course, there was a catch. Glow stick liquid doesn't last long once exposed to air. The glow faded fast, which meant the effects team had to mix fresh batches constantly, every single take, over and over. And then there was the part absolutely nobody envies. Kevin Peter Hall, the man inside the Predator suit, had to hold the mixture in his mouth and spit it out to simulate the creature bleeding. Non-toxic and technically safe, and apparently absolutely disgusting. The man committed to the role in ways that should qualify for hazard pay. We're going to take a quick pause for the cause before the jungle gets any deadlier. If you're enjoying this deep dive into Predator's behind-the-scenes chaos, make sure to hit that like button. It tells YouTube that you want more stories about movies that were absolutely not safe to make. Oh, and drop a comment with your favorite Predator moment. Alright, let's get back to the hunt with number 7. The invisibility effect used a bright red suit. The Predator's cloaking effect was basically a guy in a fire truck red bodysuit wandering around the jungle like he'd taken a wrong turn at a superhero audition. The logic was simple and kind of brilliant. In a lush Mexican jungle that's nothing but green, brown, and misery, the one color you'll never see in nature is bright red. So the effects team dressed the Predator performer head to toe in red, filmed the scene, and gave the lab something easy to isolate without accidentally erasing half the rainforest. That red silhouette became the Predator's outline. Then came the real trick. They shot every scene twice, once with the red-suited Predator stomping around, then again with no actor at all, capturing a clean shot of the empty jungle background. In post-production, the effects team took that clean background plate, optically shrank it down, and rephotographed it into the red-suited matte frame by frame. Squeezing a full-sized background into a smaller space meant the image warped and bent inside the Predator shape. Like light passing through rippling water. That distortion was the invisibility, and it ended up way creepier than full transparency would have been. The shimmer made audiences lean forward instead of looking away. The exact opposite of what most movie monsters accomplish. Number 6. The Predator's clicking sound came from a dying horseshoe crab. The Predator doesn't roar or snarl even. It clicks, and that sound gets under your skin in a way most movie monsters never manage. That wasn't an accident. The Predator's signature clicking vocalization was created by Peter Cullen, the same man who gave the world Optimus Prime. When Cullen was brought in, the filmmakers were initially hesitant to show him the creature. They weren't sure they wanted a voice at all. Cullen pushed back. He insisted that to find the right sound, he needed to see what he was supposed to be. So they showed him the unmasked Predator face, and instantly something clicked. Literally. The mandibles, the wet, fleshy movement, the alien mouth parts, it all triggered a childhood memory Cullen hadn't thought about in years. As a kid in Massachusetts, he'd once seen a horseshoe crab flipped onto its back, slowly dying in the sun. As it struggled to breathe, it made this awful, bubbling, crackling, clicking noise. Quiet, undramatic, and completely wrong in a way that sticks with you forever. That was the sound. Cullen recreated it by making a clicking growl deep in the back of his throat, letting the noise feel biological instead of theatrical. It wasn't a monster scream, it was the sound of a creature struggling to exist. Something animal, something ancient, and something you weren't supposed to understand. And that choice changed everything. There was no synthesizer, no studio trick, just a guy channeling a dying crab on a beach and somehow making an entire generation afraid of clicking sounds. Number 5. Arnold and Jesse Ventura's infamous bicep bet. The most intense competition on The Predator involved 2 egos, 1 measuring tape, and absolutely zero chance of a fair outcome. During costume fittings, Jesse Ventura overheard the wardrobe department mention that his arm measurements were bigger than Arnold Schwarzenegger's. And on an 80s action movie set, that's basically a declaration of war. Ventura took the information and did what any sane human would do. He challenged the 7-time Mr. Olympia to a $100 bet over who had the bigger biceps. Arnold accepted immediately, which should have been Ventura's first red flag. Knowing Ventura was relying on those wardrobe notes, Schwarzenegger quietly coordinated with the measuring crew ahead of time. When the official measurement happened in front of everyone, the tape told a very specific story. Arnold's arms were bigger.
What's the matter? The CIA got you pushing too many pencils? Huh?
Case closed, bet lost, Ventura paid up. Years later, the truth finally came out. Arnold admitted he'd rigged the entire situation, manipulating the tape and the people holding it. Ventura realized there was never a scenario where he could have won. The bet was decided before the tape ever touched skin. The man would rather commit measurement fraud than risk a tie. Number 4, the cast got jacked on purpose. Predator didn't just look like a movie about elite soldiers, it worked like one. To sell the idea that this squad was the peak of human lethality, the cast woke up around 4 a.m. every single day to lift weights before filming. Arnold, Ventura, Carl Weathers, Sonny Landham, and Bill Duke all hit a makeshift jungle gym before sunrise, but not necessarily together. According to Carl Weathers, the real game wasn't group training, it was secret training. The actors would sneak in solo workouts trying to get bigger without anyone else noticing, because the goal was to make it look like their muscles just happened naturally. No effort, no sweat, just genetics and destiny. Of course, when you've got 5 guys all independently waking up before dawn to lift in secret, the secret doesn't stay secret very long. It turned into an unspoken arms race. If someone looked bigger on set, everyone else quietly added reps the next morning. Nobody wanted to be the smallest commando in the squad, especially not standing next to Arnold. The obsession didn't stop once cameras rolled either. Weights and resistance bands were kept just off screen. Before every take, the cast would do quick pump routines so their muscles looked as large and defined as possible. These guys treated every frame like a bodybuilding competition with an alien audience. Number 3, the Rocky Balboa joke that accidentally created Predator. Predator started as a Hollywood joke, and not even a clever one. In the mid-80s, right after Rocky IV turned Sylvester Stallone into the most unstoppable human being on film, a sarcastic quip started making the rounds. Well, Rocky's beaten everyone on Earth, guess he fights an alien next. Cue laughter, cue the eye roll. Screenwriting brothers Jim and John Thomas latched onto that punchline and decided to do the most reckless thing possible with it, play it completely straight. The result was a script built around one brilliantly simple concept. If the most dangerous game is man hunting man, then sooner or later, man becomes the prey. Now, here's where the legend gets fuzzy, because Hollywood origin stories always do. Some records say the Thomas brothers had versions of the script floating around as early as 1983, before Rocky IV ever hit theaters. Others say the Rocky joke didn't create the idea so much as crystallize it, giving execs an easy way to understand the pitch. Action hero versus alien. Either way, the framing stuck. What began as a sarcastic one-liner about franchise fatigue ended up birthing one of the most legendary movie monsters in cinema history. Born from heat, mud, and the slow realization that all those muscles mean absolutely nothing when something out there is smarter, quieter, and already locked onto your spine. Number 2, the movie was almost called Hunter. Predator nearly had the most aggressively generic title imaginable. Before it became one of the most intimidating one-word movie titles of the 80s, the film was simply called Hunter. And to be fair, the name made sense. Sort of. In the earliest drafts, the alien wasn't just stalking one unlucky group of commandos, it was framed as a galactic trophy hunter, traveling from planet to planet in search of the most dangerous prey in the universe. Humans weren't special. They were just the latest thing dumb enough to carry guns into the jungle, but Fox quickly realized there was already a popular TV show called Hunter airing at the time. Same name, same shelves at video stores, same inevitable confusion. So the title had to change, and thank God it did. Because Hunter sounds so clinical. Almost polite even, like a nature documentary narrated by someone wearing khakis. Predator sounds like something that eats you and doesn't bother learning your name first. That one-word shift completely reframed the movie. It stopped being about a skilled alien sportsman and became about a single unseen force stalking elite soldiers who don't even realize they're already dead. The emphasis moved from action to suspense, from who's the hunter to what's watching us right now. Hunter might have worked. Predator became legend. Number 1, Arnold left the jungle to get married. Predator is a movie about elite commandos getting hunted in the jungle, and right in the middle of all that mud, sweat, and alien paranoia, Arnold Schwarzenegger took a time out to get married. During production in 1986, Arnold temporarily left the jungles of Mexico, flew to Massachusetts, and married Maria Shriver on April 26th. The man treated his own wedding like a lunch break. Fly out, get married, fly back, fight alien. Arnold was gone only a few days before returning to finish the film, and in true 80s action hero fashion, he didn't even take a real honeymoon. Instead, he brought his new wife back to the Predator set. The honeymoon was in the same Mexican jungle where everyone had diarrhea, the monster suit weighed about 120 pounds, and the cast was waking up at 4 a.m. to lift weights out of spite. Romance at its finest, everybody. Naturally, the crew welcomed her the only way they knew how. They filled Arnold and Maria's hotel bathtub with frogs. So when she tried to take a relaxing shower, she was greeted by a live amphibian jump scare instead. Welcome to the jungle! Now, most people get champagne and a sunset for their honeymoon. Maria Shriver got jungle humidity, a crew running on crackers and bottled water, and a bathtub full of uninvited wildlife. Meanwhile, Arnold was back on set the next morning, covered in mud, firing blanks at a guy in a rubber suit. Only Arnold Schwarzenegger could treat a wedding like a pit stop and a movie set like a honeymoon resort, and somehow make both of them work. And there you have it, 15 weird and wild facts about Predator. Which fact surprised you the most? Drop it in the comments and share this with a friend who loves Predator. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. Until next time, this is Remember When.